a 4,000-pound rear-engine family van with the aerodynamics of a brick, no transfer case, no locking differentials, barely enough power to merge onto a highway. And yet this aerodynamic toaster could crawl steep inclines and embarrass purpose-built 4x4s costing twice as much. The impossible engineering of the Vanagon Syncro didn't begin in Wolfsburg. It began inside an Austrian military factory with a very different pedigree. Volkswagen's quest to build a four-wheel drive van did not start in its own labs. Instead, the company went shopping for expertise and landed in Graz, Austria, home of Steyr-Puch. By the early 1980s, Steyr's off-road credentials were ironclad. The firm was behind the Pinzgauer, a six-wheel mountain goat of a troop carrier, and the original Mercedes G-Wagon, both legendary for shrugging off mud, snow, and military abuse. When Volkswagen's own engineers ran the numbers, developing a homegrown four-wheel drive system would have cost more than 75 million Deutsche Marks and delayed the Syncro's launch by years. So, in 1983, Volkswagen signed a technology supply contract with Steyr-Puch. The Austrians would deliver a complete four-wheel drive package, front differential, transfer case, drive shafts, viscous coupling, and the control electronics to make it all play nice with a rear-engine van. This was not just a parts bin raid. Steyr's off-road division adapted the Pinzgauer's constant mesh hypoid gear set to handle the Vanagon's weight, while the Viscous coupling, a British Ferguson design license built in Austria, would become the Syncro's secret weapon.
If you're enjoying this content, subscribe now.
The front differential geometry, torque bias, and even the CV joints were all drawn from Steyr's military playbook. Some Syncro axle housings even share part numbers with the Pinzgauer, a civilian van wearing combat boots. Engineering memos from the Magna Steyr archive show that senior Steyr engineers like Hans Moser and Rudolf Schmidt, both veterans of military drivetrain projects, led the Syncro's front axle and coupling design. The philosophy was simple: build it tough enough for the Alps, but modular enough to bolt onto a Volkswagen chassis with minimal surgery. Steyr's team provided a front axle assembly that Volkswagen could install without raising the van's floor or sacrificing cargo space, a military-grade solution shrink-wrapped for family camping trips. The press release in 1984 did not trumpet military DNA, but the Syncro's hardware told the real story. Steyr's approach, robust, field-serviceable, and overbuilt, set the Syncro apart from any other van on the market. The result was a partnership that fused German practicality with Austrian over-engineering, laying the groundwork for a drivetrain system that would soon bend the rules of what a boxy, underpowered van could do off-road. Buried beneath the Vanagon Syncro's shifter, past the familiar H pattern, sits a party trick almost nobody expects: the Gelände gear. This is not a traditional low-range transfer case. There is no lever, no clunky selector, just a hidden dogleg in the shift gate. Pull the stick down and left, and the van drops into a gear so low it feels like the laws of physics have been temporarily suspended. The final drive ratio plunges, and suddenly 95 horsepower does not seem so laughable. The Syncro crawls forward at walking pace, engine humming, tires barely spinning, while other vans are left clutching their starter motors. On paper, the numbers look almost comical. The G gear delivers a crawl ratio of roughly 15-1, which is in the same league as the Pinzgauer and early Land Cruisers. No transfer case is required, just a clever reworking of the stock transaxle and a little Austrian audacity. The result is the Syncro can drag itself up muddy banks, over rocky ledges, and through snowdrifts with only a modest push from its ticking time bomb Wasserboxer. But the real ace is where the weight sits. About 55% of the Syncro's mass is planted over the rear axle. That's not an accident, it is the payoff of putting the engine in the trunk. When the van starts to climb, gravity does the rest, pressing the rear tires into the ground with more force than most front-engine sport utility vehicles can dream of. German road tests measured a static rear axle load of 540 kilograms on a 1,770 kilogram van, and dynamic tests showed the Syncro could maintain traction on grades that left competitors spinning.
If you're enjoying this content, subscribe now.
It is a rolling physics demonstration, less power, more grip. This is the Syncro's mechanical contradiction in a nutshell. It is slow, underpowered, and shaped like an aerodynamic toaster, yet it conquers terrain that should be out of reach. The G-gear and rear engine layout work together as a kind of mechanical loophole, one that lets a family van moonlight as a mountain goat. And all of this comes before the real engineering headache. How do you fit a front drive shaft and differential without turning the interior into a playground for transmission tunnels and raised floors? That is the next trick in the Syncro's improbable bag. Threading a drive shaft through a rear engine van is a packaging headache that sends most engineers running for the exit. Volkswagen's Syncro team, led by chassis specialists in Wolfsburg, didn't just squeeze in four-wheel drive hardware, they did it without shrinking the cabin by a single millimeter. The solution, a shallow tunnel, barely 40 millimeters tall, runs beneath the floor from the rear transaxle to the front bulkhead. To make this work, the fuel tank was yanked from its usual spot and bolted under the driver's seat, nestled in a steel cradle between the chassis rails. This move freed up just enough real estate for a 1.65 meter drive shaft, fitted with low-profile CV joints developed with Steyr's military playbook in mind. Each CV joint is only 22 millimeters across the splines, a dimension borrowed straight from the Pinzgauer parts bin, but here it is deployed to keep the floor flat and the cargo area intact. The driveshaft tunnel itself is so shallow that it skirts the lower edge of the floor pan, forcing the rear engine mount to shift 30 millimeters aft. Every millimeter mattered. The fuel lines reroute through the tunnel, shielded from vibration, and the drive shaft sits at a shallow 12-degree angle to prevent torque twist. This is packaging by surgical strike, nothing wasted, nothing left to chance. But all this spatial ingenuity comes with a catch. Routine engine maintenance now means working around a maze of cross members, cradle bolts, and that relocated tank. The Syncro's interior stays boxy and practical, but under the floor, it's a game of Tetris, played at full speed by engineers who knew that every centimeter counted.
If you're enjoying this content, subscribe now.
Under the Syncro's floor, a mechanical time bomb ticks away, the Wasserboxer's infamous cooling system, Decoupler. Volkswagen, optimistic, installed a rubber-coupled water pump drive meant to absorb vibration from the engine's long crankshaft. In theory, this soft bushing would smooth the ride and prolong bearing life. In reality, it is the weakest link in the entire drivetrain, a part so failure-prone that owners joke about carrying a spare in the glove box. The decoupler's job is simple: transmit rotation from the crank to the water pump. But as the miles add up, heat and ozone harden the rubber. The coupling begins to slip, often unnoticed at first. Coolant flow drops, especially at idle or under heavy load. The temperature needle starts to creep up slowly, then all at once. By the time the driver smells hot coolant, the damage is done. Overheating warps the aluminum cylinder heads, and the famous Wasserboxer head gaskets begin their march toward oblivion. Headwork on a Syncro is no quick fix. The engine sits under a maze of cross members and the relocated fuel tank, turning a simple gasket job into a multi-day ordeal. Shops report Syncro head gasket replacement times of 12 to 16 hours, twice as long as on a standard Vanagon. The repair bills pile up, and so do the stories. Family road trips cut short by steam, long waits for flatbeds, and the dreaded call from the mechanic. For every owner who brags about conquering snowy passes, there is another who has learned the hard way that the Syncro's real adventure starts when the coolant hits the pavement. Syncro owners faced with the infamous ticking time bomb under the engine cover didn't just accept defeat. They reached for wrenches and started rewriting the van's weakest chapters. The original rubber water pump, Decoupler, prone to slippage and meltdown, gets swapped for a gear-type metal unit. No more soft bushing, no more guessing if the coolant's actually moving. The metal decoupler cranks out 30% more pump torque, keeping the Wasserboxer's temperature in check even when the van's slogging up a mountain pass. But the upgrades don't stop there. A larger radiator, often paired with a high-flow electric fan, drops coolant temps by an average of 5 degrees Celsius under load. These fixes aren't just about survival, they're about making the Syncro usable for long-distance adventure. Specialist shops and DIY mechanics have turned these retrofits into a playbook, keeping the boxy, over-engineered oddity alive long after most would have thrown in the towel. The Syncro's oddball engineering did not just create a capable off-roader, it sparked a full-blown cult. Nowhere is this clearer than the Westfalia Syncro, the pop-top camper that turned a slow, boxy van into the original van life status symbol. Owners were not just chasing nostalgia. In a 2023 survey of van life enthusiasts, 42% said four-wheel drive was their top priority, more than kitchen layouts, more than price. The Syncro, with its military-grade underpinnings and walk-in living room, hit that sweet spot decades before hashtags and influencer road trips. Auction records have gone from quirky to jaw-dropping, with six-figure sales for rare 16-inch Syncros and even the more common 14-inch models now fetching $30,000 to $50,000 if they are sorted, running, and still have that ticking time bomb Wasserboxer out back. The math is simple: the weirder the van, the higher the price. In an age of cookie-cutter campers, the Syncro's impossible contradictions are exactly what makes it irresistible. Right now, people pay six figures for an aerodynamic toaster with a viscous coupling cheat code, a crawler gear workaround, and a ticking time bomb under the lid. Engineering dead ends rarely gather cults, unless by some mechanical accident they outlast everything that made sense. That's the Syncro paradox. Drop your take below.
If you're enjoying this content, subscribe now.